All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the 2023 Community Banking Research Conference. Yesterday, we heard from a number of policymakers, from researchers, from our undergraduates, from community bankers. We saw research that looked at issues that were very relevant to earlier this year. We talked about banking resilience, and today we are going to look at credit risk, and we're also going to assemble a panel to provide kind of a capstone look at not only what transpired during this conference, but also talk about some of the issues that our expert panel of community bankers and a member of the media see as important as we look ahead to the future. So excited for that. But before we do that, we are going to hear from our 2023 Community Bank keynote speaker. Before I introduce Commissioner Joe Face from the state of Virginia, just a couple of quick reminders. And again, welcome to our web stream, our live stream audience as well on communitybanking.org. You know, I've noted a couple times that we were delighted to have poster presenters just right outside the Gateway Conference Center auditorium. I understand a lot of you were able to speak with our authors. I should also mention that our authors actually did pre-record full versions of their presentations, and those are available on communitybanking.org. So for our live stream audience, we have not forgotten about you. So the experience that many of our in-person audience members were able to have with our authors, you can experience those papers and hear from them directly. Those videos, again, are available on communitybanking.org. So now I'm pleased to introduce Commissioner Joe Face. He's the Commissioner of Financial Institutions, the Virginia State Corporation Commission's Bureau of Financial Institutions, a position that he has held since 1997. And Joe is also a former chair of the Conference of State Bank Supervisors and held a number of other leadership roles. And you also heard from Joe yesterday as part of our video series talking about community banking in Virginia. And Joe is going to introduce our 2023 Community Bank keynote speaker. So please join me in welcoming Joe Face.
Well, thank you, Jim. I really do appreciate that. Again, I am Joe Face, for those of you that haven't met me. And I think I'm affectionately known by my colleagues as the commissioner with too much hair. I was just talking to Jeff over there, and I said, Jeff, you know, it was getting kind of hard to find nice things to say about you. And I said, what should I say? He says, well, just say, here's Jeff, and sit down. But there's too much to say. There really is. I also asked him, I said, Jeff, has your wife ever been in the audience when you've spoken before? And he said, oh, yeah, she's heard me several times. So, Wendy, this won't be the first time that Jeff has spoken and you've heard him. So I told him, I said, the most nervous I've ever been speaking was when my wife was in the audience and I spoke. But getting on to the introduction, my predecessor as commissioner in Virginia, Sid Bailey, told me when he retired in 1997 that it's hard for us regulators to have friends in the business, particularly the ones that we regulate. But we know, of course, that we regulators are not capable of having friends, and we're not supposed to have any friends. I had the pleasure of regulating, examining Chesapeake Bank over many years. I became very well acquainted with Jeff's predecessor at the bank, Mr. Doug Monroe. He was one of the finest bankers and even a finer gentleman that I've ever known, and he was a pillar in Virginia banking history. I'd be remiss if I didn't note today Doug's recent passing. Jeff, you and I have something in common. We both had some of the best mentors that anybody could have had. I and Sid Bailey, and you and Doug Monroe. And Wendy, again, you have my condolences for your father's passing. He was a real great gentleman. I think you would agree that neither of us, Jeff, would be here if it wasn't for those two men. Getting to Kilmarnock, Jim, you and Tim did a great job with that video. I think it was just fantastic. You really captured the essence of the community and Jeff's bank. I hope you were as pleased with it as I was. And I think you folks got a real sense of the bank and the community from that video yesterday. Kilmarnock sits in the eastern part of Virginia in what is sometimes referred to as river country in the northern neck, between the Potomac and Rappahannock rivers, rich in history and beauty. It's a place laden with history and long revered for the character of its people, many of whom fashioned the political and mercantile building blocks of our nation. Virginia's northern neck is home to, or was home to, Presidents George Washington, James Monroe, and James Madison. In more recent times, the river country, as we call it, is home to another one of Virginia's greatest heroes. And I'll just ask a question. Are there any Marines in the audience, former Marines in the audience today? Well, my brother was a helicopter pilot in the Marine Corps, so I hear a lot about the Marines. But one of Virginia's greatest heroes was General Chester Puller. He's the most decorated Marine in Marine Corps history. And even to this day, as my brother tells me, every night in boot camp, every Marine has to say one thing before they go to bed. Good night, Chesty, as he was known. Jeff, General Puller he was born, lived, and is buried in river country in a little town called Saluda, Virginia, a one-stoplight town. And Jeff, I know you, as I have passed his home and his burial place hundreds of times, going back and forth to Richmond. Wendy, you too. And he is still a well-known hero in Virginia, especially that part of Virginia. I could go down a long list of accomplishments of Jeff and Chesapeake Bank, but let me just mention a few. Jeff is one of the most humble individuals that I've ever met, and he won't speak about himself or his accomplishments. But if you were to ask Jeff to talk about his bank and his employees, we'd be here the rest of the day listening to him. I was told that Jeff started out his career in public accounting, but he had too much personality for that line of work. Jeff made the smart move to community banking, and we in Virginia are the better for it. Chesapeake Bank, I should mention that Jeff has been both chair of the Virginia Bankers Association and chair of the American Bankers Association. He's also, his bank has also been named one of the best banks to work for, as I recall, ever since they started keeping or tracking that category. I'll just close. I know we want to hear what Jeff has to say, and I'll just close by saying, Jeff, I hope that mentioning you with the likes of George Washington, James Madison, James Monroe, Doug Monroe, and General Puller hasn't put too much pressure on you. We are enormously proud of Jeff and the contributions he's made to the banking system in Virginia and nationwide, and especially to the communities that he regulates and we regulate. So Jeff, welcome, and we look forward to your comments. Thank you.